Hello everyone, and welcome back to the studio. It is so nice to have your company once again, and in today's video, we're going to be painting this beautiful Colorado autumn landscape in oils, and I will also be sharing with you how you can create a painting that's somewhere in between fairly loose and super detailed. I really hope you enjoy. I'm using a 24 by 30 stretched canvas that I toned with burnt umber and then rubbed it back with a rag. And then I sketched up the whole scene using a General's white charcoal pencil. I start knocking in the sky color using a mixture of ultramarine blue, titanium white, and cobalt teal. And for a list of all the brushes that I used in this video, that link is in the description down below. Using ultramarine blue, burnt umber, quinacridone magenta, and titanium white, I loosely established the clouds and will begin to refine them as I move along. Here, I'm using a synthetic long filbert from Rosemary & Co., and this brush is by far my favorite brush to use for painting clouds. It just gives such a soft effect. I begin to establish the distant forest below the peaks using an evergreen synthetic pointed round. And in order to achieve a sense of realism within our landscape paintings, we really have to focus on atmospheric perspective, keeping those distant elements a little hazy and then slowly intensifying the colors as we move into the foreground. Another great brush to use to achieve that looseness within your landscape paintings is the Tisch Dagger, designed by my good friend Andrew Tischler from Rosemary & Co. At this stage, I'm not at all concerned about adding details in these distant mountains. All I'm trying to do at this point is to establish where the snowfields are going to be, and then I'll add the detail over the top of that. Here, I'm using the same mixture of colors as I used for the sky. I just threw a little bit of burnt umber into the mix to desaturate it, and this will make it so those mountains appear much further away. Right now, the shapes in those mountains look pretty abstract, but don't worry, once this layer dries, I'll be able to go over it with those super fine details. And for the blocking in / modeling phase of the painting, a great brush to use is a synthetic evergreen short flat. Probably one of the trickiest colors to get right within our landscape paintings is green, and the only green I have on my palette is phthalo green, and I'm only saving that for the immediate foreground as it is such a strong color. For these distant trees and mountains, I mix cobalt teal, burnt umber, yellow ochre, titanium white, and just a touch of ultramarine blue. Now that the block-in layer is dry, I can go over it with the details using a small ivory dagger, and this brush does a great job at carving out the snow in between all these cliffs. And along with the dagger, I'm also using a 00 pointed round. When painting a landscape like this, there's two things I'm really trying to focus on. Number one is that I'm trying to find a sweet spot in between super loose and super detailed. And number two, light and shadow. Another really important thing to focus on is contrast. Remember, the darker you make your shadows, the brighter your highlights are going to appear. I break out that Tisch Dagger once again to really start intensifying the colors within the grass and these bushes. Before establishing the highlights in these bushes in the immediate foreground, I knock in the shadows first using an ultimate pointed round. My absolute favorite brush to use for painting thick vegetation is a fan brush that I trimmed with a pair of scissors. Now this brush does a great job with creating a painterly yet detailed effect within these willow bushes. And with the last few details here and there, I think I'm ready to call this painting finished. Well, that about wraps this week's video up, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Now, as always, you can find me on my website at CodyOldham.com. And while you're over there, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. And you can also find me on my Patreon page under Cody Oldham, where I do weekly live streams where I answer your questions. And you can also find me on Instagram at Cody Oldham Artist. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.